appalling.
Well, there we go. Let's see if I can
Hey,
get this working a
hola,
bit better.
hola,
Hola, ¿cómo
hola,
está?
hola, Esther, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm getting there, getting
Getting
there.
it.
It's been a
Take
bit of a day. Yeah,
bit of a kerfuffle. You take your time, relax, grab a glass of something.
I already did. I just had one, but I scoffed it with a little bit of hummus.
It's a
Not at the
good thing.
same time, but yeah.
I'm just trying to work out how that would work. Not pretty, not pretty. So
How has your day been?
I just finished work, so just enough time. I,
Yeah.
I finish at 6:15, so
Oh
luckily I
wow,
work
that
from home.
is. Oh, okay. What's your day job?
I sell vacuum cleaners. That's really, and hair dryers, and yeah, that's it.
That's cool.
It's a living.
And it is. And look, I have to say, I've had very little luck with vacuum cleaners, so maybe I'll have to get some tips.
Absolutely. Ours are high end, and if you need anything, I can do you a deal.
Amazing.
Talk to Dyson.
So when did you start getting involved in Gaywaves? Because
First time
you
or
were
second
clearly
time?
either time.
In 1988, I first
Yep.
started. Uh, I just hit Sydney looking for something fun to do. I was on radio in Perth.
Yep.
It seemed like a natural progression.
With what is it, 6 NPR?
I was on 6 UVS FM
Yep.
back then, the Ethos show with Norrie.
Ah, amazing.
Yeah, so we go way, way back. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we've got some pretty amazing photos of Nori performing in a Barry Lowe production in WA. Some very young
Ooh,
Nori.
very, very young Norrie. I'm not sure Norrie was even Norrie back then.
No, I'm
Oh,
not sure.
yeah. We could check with it. It would know.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, I've sent the messages. We correspond a little, and I think what did they say about them? They've posted them before, but
Mm,
they're pretty amazing. I think Barry Lowe had a bit of a crush,
yeah.
so they took a lot of photos. Yeah,
Barry had a big crush back then. It was
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
So cute. But there we are. So
Yes.
I only do actually have this Zoom feed for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So it's a 30-minute show. We're going to put some music on and do some intros at the beginning. So
Cool.
did you have a song that you wanted played at the end? So
Oh gosh.
think
It's
about it.
funny because I always think back to some of the things that I listened to going through the Gaywaves episodes actually. Um, what about the Gaywaves song by the Gay Liberation Choir?
If we can find it, or if you've got a copy of it, send it. Because
Yeah, I can pull a copy, I can clip a copy. Or there's the lovely Walls to Roses song, which was a big favorite in the early 80s. But yes, lots of good stuff.
send me through some ideas later
Sure.
afterwards. But I'm going to kick this off now because, yeah, I don't
No
know.
props.
I'm coming down from work and I'm still on my first class. So, so we'll begin. So, Nick Henderson, thank you. Nick is a long-time volunteer, a committee member of the Australian Lesbian and Gay Archives, and as a professional curator and archivist, he has worked across the national and cultural institutions for more decades than either of us care to remember, really. He's worked on the National Gallery of Australia, the National Library, the National Archives, the Performing Arts Collection, and currently curating, I believe, at the National Film and Sound Archives. Have I missed anything?
That no, although only the tiniest correction.
Yeah.
The Australian Lesbian and Gay Archives became the Australian Queer Archives a couple of years
Ah,
ago.
ah, thank you for that, because we
That's
must.
okay.
So, well, on that note, Nick Anderson, welcome to Gay Waves, or in this case, Maggie, welcome back to Gay Waves, because I think you've been on us before, many decades ago.
No,
Ooh,
no, look,
no.
I came to Gaywaves, I guess, more in terms of being familiar with people who were involved, people like Greg Redding and others, and I guess just through archiving. So I haven't actually been on Gaywaves before.
Oh, welcome to Gaywaves for the first time then. You are now
Thank you
joining
very
the
much.
archives. History repeats. Or so what got you into archiving? Why are you here?
Oh, why am I here? Look,
Yeah.
I got into archives, I guess, almost straight out of university in an odd way. I'd actually done art history and curatorial studies, and I got a job at the National Library. Well, after working at the National Gallery, and it was just an amazing experience. So working at the National Library, which is Australia's oldest cultural institution as a federal
Mhm.
organisation, and working with archives, and I just came across so much amazing material, and I guess it just captured me, and I've never let go.
Oh, that is excellent. And specifically the gay and lesbian and queer and trans and bi and all-inclusive archives now. Did you mean
Yeah.
to do that initially, or did you start out regular archives and specialize?
Yeah, no, I guess, look, I do my day-to-day practice in terms of my professional work, which is now at the National Film and Sound Archive. So a lot of what I do is more, archiving all aspects of what come in, and similarly previously in my professional roles. But in terms of the work with the queer archives, that's also kind of informed my work in institutions. So I've been able to, I guess, queer those organizations through the work that I'm doing. Um, and I guess I came across the Australian Queer Archives about 20 years ago. And I was then living in Canberra and set up a kind of a local queer archive kind of project in Canberra looking at local history. And then when I moved down to Melbourne a bit over 15 years ago, I started with the then Lesbian and Gay Archives, and now Queer Archives, as it's been renamed. So yeah, look, it's been an amazing process and experience for me to have the opportunity to work with such a diverse community, and it's all aspects of community, whether or not it's people who are maybe in their later years and they're looking to preserve and their life's work, or all could be very small things, and record their stories for posterity. But it's also working
Mm.
with community organisations and helping them to make sure that that material is preserved, and making it available, making it accessible, and building a community around the archive. So we're volunteer run, and
Mhm.
part of, I guess, a lot of what archives do and community-based groups do is create that sense of community around material.
Oh, that's excellent. And I do have material to give you, which we will
Amazing.
discuss later. So, what is the oldest piece that you have? What was your first finds that made you go, yeah, this is it?
Well, look, the oldest piece in the archives, I think, is actually an Edward VII coin, which is, correct me maybe, but it's about 700 years old. The oldest Australian material is a British government report, which dates from 1847. So the report really looks at, I guess, convict incarceration and some of the issues that were around at the time. And there was a Tasmanian bishop, and he
Hmm.
wrote to the then kind of secretary for the colonies, and he writes about the conditions and the issues in Tasmania, but also about Norfolk Island. And when he's talking about Norfolk Island, he talks about up to 150 couples living in marriage-like arrangements. So Norfolk Island was a space of secondary punishment, and
Hmm.
many of the, I guess, you could many of the convicts there may have been in some form of, I guess, situational homosexuality, but many may well have been in, very loving and intimate relationships there. And I guess part of what that goes to is that there's very little documentation from that early period, and what
Hmm.
does survive is really both through the lens of authority, through incarceration, through the carceral state at the time.
That's excellent. So find love where
Yeah,
you can find it, really. That's what it's
absolutely.
about. So, what is that your favorite piece of archival history?
Oh, look, there is so much material. The Queer Archives has approaching 700 shelf meters of material. So there's millions of bits of paper. I think,
It's in
look,
my
some of
bedroom.
it might challenge us. Look, one of my favorite items I'd say is a house book that comes from the Radical Fairy communal house that was in Rozelle called the Wellington Boot. It was
Okay.
also the site, I guess, the house of the first sister of perpetual indulgence in Australia, Sister Mary
Oh.
Medusa, later Sister May Call of the Wild, Gary Schliemann. So he had, I guess, been inspired by a trip to America, and had essentially brought both the sisters and, in many ways, the fairies back to Australia. And the house book is just a wonderful documentation of a communal house in the 1980s. It's got photos and drawings and messages and poems, and it really just kind of goes to that rich kind of social kinship that many queer people form, and outside the bounds of, I guess, the sort of biological families. So it's a really beautiful object.
Early scrapbooking, really.
Yeah, very much so.
That's gorgeous. I'd never heard of that concept until just now. I'm going to leave that in my coffin. So, so that's your favorite project. So how do you choose what goes into your collections?
Well, the archive, I guess, with a lot of cultural organizations who acquire and build collections, we need to kind of keep it narrow in some way. So often, we'll get offered material that kind of falls a little bit outside or might be a little bit too problematic. It could be
Mhm.
we've had banners where people have stuck food to the banners, um, Fruit Loops and other things, and not always the best to preserve in an archive, to mix kind of paper-based or other material with food. We've also had material that box sets of the golden. Oh, well, not the Golden Years. What am I thinking? What's that series? The American one with the
Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. Goodness, how
Yeah.
can I forget that?
Goodness, Blanche, how could you?
I know. How could I? Just call myself a gay. Hand in my card. So, material that, that's online, it's in other places. So, we need to be kind of a little bit circumspect about what we collect. So what we do really focus on is looking at Australian material that is significant to Australia or Australians overseas.
Mhm.
But there's little porous boundaries there as well. So we have strong collections of, say, Indonesia material that is from our region,
Mhm.
and we're really looking for particularly archival materials that could be unpublished personal papers or records, but often it's also published things like magazines and newsletters. But we, as a community archive, we're really broad. So I mentioned banners before, but we've got punk leather jackets and dildo molds. We've got, condom packs and matchbooks. We've got, over 1,000 t-shirts. We've got films and home movies, you name it. There is pretty much everything there if it's touched a queer folk
So,
in Australia.
so you don't have to be a celeb to get into the archives, just a regular person with a story.
Absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of people often think that, you have to have, been in the vanguard of law reform or, been a famous performer or something. But a lot of what we deal with is everyday lives. We've done projects looking at, for example, military service and, looking at love letters where people have, changed the name of their partner so it would get through military censors, looking at, it could be the flyer from a club night that you went to. You didn't have to put it on. It's just, we're looking for different ways to document queer lives, and that comes in so many different forms.
Feel free to steal anything from my page you want. I've got some weird shit on that. So uh, I completely lost my point there, but that's going to be edited out, so that's completely fine. Why is gay history so important to people? Why can't we just forget and start young and move on?
Yeah, look, I think for a lot of queer people, because we very much make the families and connections and social networks that we're a part of, we don't automatically we're not born into the world receiving the information about our communities from our family, generally. For some families, absolutely. And I think increasingly so. But for a lot of people, they don't have access to that. And so documenting our lives and preserving it and passing that on is a way for us to pass on that community and that sense of that we aren't the first person to kind of go through this, that we're part of a much bigger, broader, larger and more complex, beautifully rich and messy history. And for
Mhm.
us, if we didn't do it, generally it wouldn't get done. Nowadays it might be, very fashionable for cultural institutions to acquire something here or there or put on the odd exhibition. It's City World Pride at the moment, so every institution you can throw a stick at is putting on an exhibition. But what happens after that? And for a lot of places, unless there's an organisation like the Australian Queer Archives, that doesn't survive. And for
Oh,
us, we're interested in all aspects. So if there's photos of BDSM, or if there's something that a mainstream institution might not find palatable, um, it's not because they don't find it palatable, but that is all part of what makes us who we are, and we collect all of that, and we don't see a division between going, okay, well, here is a novel, and here is a photo from a strip club, queer strip club, whatever that is, we're doing all of that.
that's what's really important. People don't realize that, I think. So you're doing a great job. And I believe you've got an exhibition coming up starting on tomorrow, because this is going to air on Friday night. So tomorrow
It
on
is
Saturday.
indeed. It is indeed. So
Yeah.
we've got an exhibition opening on Saturday. So it's a partnership between UNSW Galleries and the Australian Queer Archives, with the support of Sydney Wood Pride during the festival. So it's called The Party, and it's an exhibition focusing on queer nightlife in Sydney between 1973 and 2002. So we needed to kind of bound it in some way. Obviously, it's incredibly big topic to focus on. So we've had to kind of reduce that down. But within that, there's material from posters to artwork to flyers to photographs to footage, costumes, objects, just a plethora of materials. So I think we're almost up to 300 items in the exhibition space. There's also going to be a whole lot of programs, panels and artwork reading clubs, and UNSW Galleries is also putting on Make and Read. I've forgotten their full name, an artist from America who has an
Mhm.
artwork called Eulogy for the Dyke Bar. And
Mm.
essentially it's creating a dyke bar as an installation, but as a working bar with performances and everything else. So that'll be on at National Art School. So there's a lot of, I guess, work that's gone into those projects.
Yeah.
The Australian Queer Archives is also involved in a number of other projects. So we're putting on
Hmm.
ourselves an exhibition called The Air is Electric, David McDermott in America.
Good.
So that focuses on the very prominent Australian queer artist, David McDermott, his photographs from a trip to America in 1977. So that'll be on at Bondi Pavilion Gallery. And then
Good.
we've also been involved in a few other projects, including Murabah, First
Hmm.
Nations LGBTQIA plus Trailblazers,
Good.
which will be an online oral history and podcast project, and also have some physical exhibition outputs. We've also been involved in Behind the Zip, which is a drag king history exhibition that's on, I think it's Sarah Cottier Gallery. So that includes a lot of material that's been scanned from the collection. And there's many other projects being well pried that have drawn on our material, including a very exciting 3-part documentary that'll be on ABC called Queer Australia.
Wow.
So, no matter where you look, hopefully you'll see some material from the archives during Sydney World Pride.
And I know you're going to be sending me all of the links so that we can put them on the website for you to keep everybody in
Absolutely.
touch. And I know I'm
Please
going to
do.
be looking for the black leather jacket that I lost at a rap party in somewhere about 94, I think. So,
This wasn't the amazing jacket that Grace Jones was supposed to have. Have you heard
mm,
that story?
I have heard that story, and I still have the scar where she bit me. Different jacket.
Wow. So I think there's a whole story, whole program on that just alone.
The moral of that story is do not kiss Grace Jones unless you have permission. So,
Mm. Yes,
learning
I concur.
experience.
Consent, very
Yeah.
important.
Yes is very important. No means no. Lesson
Indeed.
learned. So, so beautiful. And that is going to be an excellent exhibition. So I'm going to be there myself on Saturday with the crew. We're doing some vox popping. We'll be putting that
Amazing.
up. And I know
Well,
some.
you'll see some amazing rap party material there, including
Oh,
some amazing loans from Billy Yip, as well as
nice.
Martin Hassono and others. So yeah, there'll be a lot of material.
That is excellent. How do you choose what goes in? So,
Look, yeah, no, it's incredibly tricky to kind of uh, synthesize it, to pull it down. And I guess when we started conceiving the exhibition, we were really focusing on the big dance parties. And so we kind of thought, okay, we'll set up a bit, we'll have a little framing context looking at the 1970s, but we're really getting going with 1981. So the title riffs off a series of three early warehouse parties called The Party, 1, 2, and 3. Pretty kind of innovative names there. But I guess moving on from that, we're really looking at, the events like the Mardi Gras party, sleazeball, Inquisition, rat parties, Bacchanalia, the big Horden parties. But we also focus a little bit on particularly the alternative and performance parties of the 90s, the Wicked Women and Sodom and many of those other sex subculture parties as well. So, pulling it down, I guess part of it is trying to understand that history, to understand, what aspects are important and what we have the ability to showcase that's out there, tracking material down. And we've got some amazing loans from the producers and creatives and connecting with those and building those connections as well. So there's been very generous in terms of their time. And also we've tried to pull in a bit more of those histories through a catalogue which will come out. So there's interviews and reflections by writers and creatives as part of that.
And if people want to donate to you, how do they contact you to do that?
Sure. We'd love to be contacted about offers of material. So the Australian Queer Archives has, you can just email us through mail, MAIL, at queerarchives.org.au, or contact us via our Facebook page, group, or Twitter. So if you just look up Australian Queer Archives, you'll find us and probably find me at the other end.
I'm just going to throw in this trick question. I know you've seen these anyway, but I still want to know what the Daughters of Bilitis are or who they are.
Oh, sure. Daughters of Bilitis. The Daughters of Bilitis was, I guess, the first organized lesbian group in America. And it had a number of chapters all across America. So it kind of followed on a little bit from the Mattachine Society, which was set up in America, but it was largely gay men. And in the late 1960s, a couple of Australians wrote to the Daughters of Bilitis. They had a magazine or a newsletter that they sent out called The Ladder. And there was local subscribers, and they had written to the Daughters of Bilitis in America and said, oh, look, we'd like to set up, or how do I get in contact with other lesbians here? And they put them in touch. They were based in Melbourne, and they set up a group that was around not for very long. So they kind of contacted in 1969. The group was running for a year before they changed their name to the Australasian Lesbian Movement. But I guess one of the things that they did was they produced a newsletter, but they put on a lot of social events. They were advocating for both, I guess, acceptance and law reform, but in many ways, their principal kind of way that they, I guess, did what they did was through building community and creating that space. So they were really the first gay rights organisation in Australia. There had been an earlier one that was principally set up by well-meaning heterosexual humanists in Canberra that started just before in July 1969, but it predated the formation of CAMP, or Campaign Against Moral Persecution, which is often credited as the start of the movement. But yeah, we can actually thank Daughters of Bilitis for that.
God, I'm so old I actually remember camp. How sad is that? Or
Not sad
impressive
at
that I'm
all.
still here. I am still here. So
Well,
yeah,
in WA, camp continued right up until I think about 89. So, it has long roots in different places.
it did. I used to write for the West Side Observer back then.
Ah,
So, yeah, long time
makes
past.
perfect sense. Yeah. And obviously, there's been a lot going on around camp as well, camp history recently. There's a play which is coming up during Sydney World Pride, but also I think there's just been a book which is actually quite impressive that's come out that you can contact, I think probably through the 78ers and get a copy, but it was launched a couple of months back, which is quite impressive.
Well, we do have a 78er on next week. We can ask. We'll find out.
Wonderful. Yes. I'll see if I can track down the contact details for you.
That would be lovely. And anything else that you want to send through, we will put on the website for you. You've been
Wonderful.
marvelous tonight. And so thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Mr. Henderson. And I will
Thank you
call
for
you
having me.
because you have my respect. So, although No, I can see that you have he, him there, so I can assume that's fine. We have checked people at Gaywaves. We always do that. So you are now part of Gaywaves history, as Gaywaves is part of the archive history, I believe.
It is indeed, and also the home of the first trans radio program in Australia, the ATA program that ran, I
Mhm.
think, from about 83 to 87-ish,
About that,
which
yeah.
is preserved in the archives.
Something I will be looking. How do people read the archives? How do we get onto it if we're interested? Before
Oh,
we
look,
run.
you can check out our website, which is just queerarchives.org.au. We've got a
Mhm.
lot of lists of material there. We're in the process of putting up a lot more material, but we've also contributed to different databases, digitized material. So one of those is the Archives of Sexuality and Gender. And so
Mhm.
that has about 230,000 pages of material from the archives. So it's text searchable database, free to access through places like the State Library of New South
Mhm.
Wales, of Victoria, National Library, and other research libraries. So it's a really useful resource to kind of track down information on Australian queer history. But if anybody is interested, you can check out our website and also just contact us if you're looking to track down information.
Oh, that sounds like a thing to do. So thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Henderson, Mr. Nick. And thank you for this very, very quick, sudden meeting. And welcome to Gay Waves again, as I said. So we will
No,
put
I
this.
really appreciate you having me on. I think often, it's such a pleasure to talk about archives because for me, it's such a passion. And
Mhm.
I think for a lot of people, they're just not familiar. They don't come across us, or
Oh,
they don't always think that, why would I go to an archive? It should be readily accessible online. It should be digitized
mm.
and, in front of my face. But,
And,
often it takes a little bit of work, but, look, once you find out there's mountains of information and histories and fascinating stories. So
I
yeah,
have a suitcase full of Village Voice under my bed right now. Oh,
amazing.
and Sydney Star Observer, the good old
Yeah,
stuff. A few
yeah,
lottles, lesbians on the loose, for those who don't
yeah.
know. But see, history is
Unfortunately,
important.
no longer with us, but now
No,
digitized in multiple places. So
which is what
I was,
exactly what we
yeah, I
need.
was it is. And, I was just looking at it today, actually. I was looking at Village Voice, and there's a fantastic cover which has some photos, promo photos actually, for a rap party, Rap Mania, which was
Mm,
the wrestling party. And it featured William Young photos of Cindy Pastel, who's performing this Saturday,
mm,
and
mm.
Benita Bod in the
Oh,
jelly wrestling that was part of the Rap Mania. So some beautiful photos.
oh, Cindy will be there on Saturday.
I hope so.
You're listening, Cindy. I haven't seen you for years. It's about time. So
Yeah, no, we've got Cindy Pastel, Felicia Fox,
nice.
who's a wonderful performer as well. We've got Sexy Galaxy
Oh,
and
excellent.
the amazing Johnny Seymour on the decks.
I might have to dress up a wee bit. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
Well,
yeah. And if any of the listeners would like to come down, please do.
are tickets still available?
It's free, freely ticketed, and it's open. I think we might have had a couple, one, two, or maybe just over 1,000 RSVPs. So bring your friends. We've got a barbecue. The aptly named, I think it's Spit Roast King, who will be doing the barbecue with drinks, performances, obviously. So yeah, should be a good night.
Excellent. So just go online if you haven't got your ticket. Look for the party, Nick
Yep,
Henderson, Queer Archives, coming down and see us all. That
absolutely.
well, we'll see him. I'll be there because yeah, I'm just I'm a party slut. I don't care.
Anybody's anybody will be there. Everybody's anybody. That sounds about right.
Yeah, anybody who thought they were anybody will be there. Everybody else will be checking the coat check to see if that's their jacket. I really loved that jacket. So thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for Gaywaves. All of the links are going to be on our website. And anything else, any questions that you need, you can contact Nick and we will put you in the right direction if you contact us. So thank
Well,
you for your time today.
thanks so much.
And cut. So,
Sweet. I'll send through all
sweet.
those links. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can email me the links.
Yeah,
I
cool.
think my email's on there, or
Yeah. Yeah,
is
yeah.
yeah, you've got my fucking details. You know how it
I do.
works.
Know what's going on.
Yeah, you're cool, dude.
Cool. So
So
you'll be coming tomorrow. You'll be coming on Saturday.
I will be coming on
Yeah.
Saturday. So I even
Awesome.
have a lift so I can get a little bit happy.
Awesome.
We'll be
Good
doing
idea.
a little bit of vox popping for the next week's show.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
anything that you want to add to it, if you see us with the microphones, just
Yeah.
jump over.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to ask us about the show? 'Cause it all works.
Oh, look, yeah, look, I'm keen to make it more like the archive stuff more accessible. I don't know if that's of interest, if there's some stuff, older programs that you want
Oh,
to rebroadcast or
absolutely. Happy to
segments.
rebroadcast all the or any of the old stuff. Sometimes we get stuck
Yeah,
for show.
cool.
We're only
Yeah,
half an hour
yeah.
at the moment, but the old show was, I think, an hour and a half at the time from memory.
3 hours for
3 hours.
most of it, actually. Yeah, it
Yeah.
started off, it was half hour recorded between, I think, November and January. Then it shifted to an hour for 2 months, hour and a half, and then moved to three
Mm,
hours, which it was for the bulk. So they generally did the kind of 2 hours of mixed
mm.
interview, Green's Gay Radio Information News, or any other
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
mixed
I
in with music. And
forgotten
then they put
Grins.
on the last hour is basically just music, though.
Yeah,
So
that was me.
yeah.
That's when Dietmar took off to the pub with the girls, and I got stuck on the
Aw,
hello, welcome to the request show. Let's play
yeah.
Julie and Clary.
Aw.
That's okay. I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But still, 12 to 1 was a bit,
I lived in Enmore. You can get off
yeah,
the bus easily, go past the donuts as they're
yeah,
being
true.
made at the shop. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was fine. Hit
yeah,
Oxford
cool.
Street, get home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Who cares?
Perfect. I mean, nowadays, Oxford, I don't know, it's a bit fun. I mean, there's still little bits going on, but I'd hope there might be a little bit more
Yeah, I
thought
check
of
it.
before.
We'll
Yeah,
check it out tomorrow because I haven't actually been out that way. I've been living in the suburbs and
yeah,
living the life, buying a house, living with cats, as you do.
yep, yep.
So,
Yeah, no, I was just I'm staying with hopefully I should be staying with a friend looking after three cats for part of Sydney World Pride, so I've got a place to stay.
well, that's handy.
Yeah.
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 And if you do want to come into the studio, you're invited anytime. Just give me a hoy
Oh,
and say,
thanks.
can I come in and say have a chat?
Yeah, cool, cool.
Yeah. If you've suddenly got something that you really feel that you have to advertise or is really interesting, we're up for
Yep.
it.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's definitely a bit on, as you can tell. And there's also Midsummer, which is starting. We're doing stuff with
Mm.
um down in Melbourne and other places. So yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah. Feel free to share the love anywhere around the country. I'm from Perth,
Cool.
so I get homesick occasionally. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Ah,
good folk over there. It was very nice to get there earlier this year. So
I haven't been back since 91, but I hear connections are still kicking on. So, and Nana Neil is still on the door.
yeah, no, it is. And although I have to say, where did yesterday go? I went to the court
Mm.
briefly, but yeah, even though they've got all the rainbows, it's very straight, very heterosexual. Um,
Yeah, that started after I already left.
yeah, right.
So,
But yeah, it's beautiful. Went up to Exmouth and up there that way. That was really cool. It's
nice.
one with whale sharks and did all that. Yeah,
You are a little get around. Brilliant.
yeah, yeah. It's not just sledding around institutions, it's also doing the actual stuff in the real world.
Yeah, well, you find stuff where you find stuff. And if you have to have a holiday while you're doing it, there you
That's
go.
right.
So I have 6 minutes left on this link, which is recording, thank God, because I did my first recording. I did a whole interview with Jane County in the United
Mm,
Kingdom.
wow.
Forgot to press record,
Oh no.
but she was lovely.
Yeah,
We did it again.
that's
So,
good.
so that's on our
Oh,
podcast. She's
oh,
adorable.
awesome. I have to listen to it.
Yeah, I've got Jane County, little Nell. She'll be coming in shortly as well.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some great stuff. I think I mentioned Max Phipps stuff, like
Mm,
around, and there's so many good things that's a part of that little collection. But also, he did these very pornographic, he was a brilliant cartoonist, and
mm.
he did these very funny kind of pornographic Christmas birthday cards, which are part of the collection. But yeah, anyway,
I'd love to see those. They probably wouldn't
yeah.
put them online, would you?
No,
No.
there's definitely a fair bit of the archives we couldn't put online, but I'll send you scans of the stuff from Rocky Horror. And
Oh,
actually,
heck yes.
we did. I got. Why is my memory so shitty today? The director.
These are all over the shop.
Who was the director?
Back in the which show? Max Phipps show?
Oh,
Uh,
all of them.
uh, Shaman.
Yeah, Jim Sharman.
Yaman. Yeah.
So we interviewed Jim and just focusing on the film side of things. But for the National Film and Sound Archive. And so
Mm.
I think we're going to be acquiring a whole lot of film stuff from him. So I'm
Excellent, because
not sure what's there yet, but
Shirley Thompson versus the Aliens is probably the worst movie in history. I have a copy.
amazing. Amazing. Well, hopefully there's some. I don't know yet. So I didn't do that
Uh,
interview. We hired somebody to do it, and he insisted on it being filmed actually. So there should be some good stuff.
yeah, I'm a huge Rocky fan, just in case.
Yeah,
I run
yeah.
the Rocky Horror Appreciation Society Facebook page.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
if you ever want to dump anything on there, or if there's anything
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
borrow, again, yep, all yours.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know that there's definitely a few things. Like there's a beautiful, big, really big poster of Max's run of Rocky Horror. But there's definitely
Mm.
other stuff. So I'll follow that up.
Yeah, Nell's poster's up for sale. That's $500, I think, at the moment. It costs $2 to make, and it's the giant side of the building poster just
Oh
going to
wow.
waste. That would be great in the archives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can put you in contact with the guy that has it. It's still running, so it's the Brisbane show.
Oh,
If you,
okay. I'll
oh,
have a look.
yeah, that's what's his. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'll
Yeah,
send you the
yeah.
link.
Yeah, cool. We'll do.
I think it should be saved. I can't
Yeah.
afford it. But
Yes, no, I got to that point as well, realizing that I often spend much more money buying things for the archives than I really have capacity. So, like, oh no, I've got to get it. So,
no,
yeah.
sometimes you have to. I just paid $100 on a bust for David Bowie's head, so I understand these things.
Yep, yep, yep. You hear me?
Yeah. I also have a Tim Curry face mask, a life mask. So
Oh, really?
yeah, from the if
Wow.
like, what was it from Legends? A copy of his face
Yep.
from Legend. They did a plaster cast of it.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Wow.
All of these things I will donate to you when I'm dead.
Which will be many, 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 many decades hence.
Hopefully, I'm
Yeah,
planning on immortality. So far, so good.
exactly. Sounds good to me.
So my link is about to run out because it's a 45
Cool.
minute. So
All good. It's
so
been wonderful chatting and meeting you properly, albeit not in person, but yes, that would be great on Saturday.
we shall do it in person on Saturday. Uh, if you can send me the link for the songs that you want,
Yep.
that would be
Yeah, yeah,
brilliant
yeah.
in an
Yeah, for sure.
MP3 so I can download them because I
Yep.
couldn't
All
download the
good.
other stuff and I wanted to keep that for myself.
Yeah, cool. No problems.
So that would be
Sweet.
awesome. So
Awesome.
thank you so
Okay.
very much for your time, sir. You
No
wander
problem at
off,
all.
have another drink. I am.
Will do.
That's the
Okay.
joy of
Take care.
working from home. Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me about
Have a
it.
good one, my darling. I'll see you on
See
Saturday.
you on Saturday.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.